everyone. I'm Ben Rutz.
And I am Erik Fitzpatrick.
And this is Genre Flip.
Genre Flip is a podcast where we take a movie of one genre and flip it around to see if it works as another genre. This week we're taking The Avengers and seeing if it'll work as a coming-of-age film.
Yeah. You probably never heard of The Avengers. I hope, well, I'm just kidding. Hopefully
it's a little tiny indie movie. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, it's so small. It's not like it made more money than almost any other movie ever. Whatever.
Nah, not at all.
So kind of, let's talk a little bit about what The Avengers is like, some of the tropes that it follows and stuff like that. Is it just me, or does The Avengers follow the same type of trope as Armageddon and Space Cowboys, in that it's like this ragtag team of washed-up heroes all comes together to be able to solve this one problem that nobody else can do kind of trope?
Well, it definitely goes into the trope of getting a team of unlikely people to work together. But I would say that these people are actually in their prime.
Well, yeah,
out of it.
It's not, I'm a ragtag team of, misfit heroes or whatever.
What you mean, though.
Yeah, not washed up heroes. Obviously, Captain America is not washed up, despite the fact that even in this film, he's 70 at this point?
Dude, I would watch that, though, if they did, that movie Last Vegas?
Yeah. If that was Avengers,
but like that.
It's time for one last ride.
Dude, they're still going to be making Fast and the Furious movies when those guys are 90, and I will still watch them.
Oh, they'll be so great. I know that we said 10 movies ago that this was going to be one last ride, but for real, this time it's going to be one last ride. This movie really follows the trope of, a team coming together to be able to save the world. Not anything really groundbreaking, but overall a really solid movie. Of course, it's not anything that is groundbreakingly perfect, but, it was a really fun, entertaining movie for everybody.
It does feel groundbreaking in that they set up all of the Avengers, or almost all of them, in previous films leading up to this one.
That's true, and this is the first time in a movie where we've had a ton of different characters from successful movies all come together for one really successful movie.
Oh, yeah.
So let's jump into the plot of the movie. Let's kind of give a brief rundown of what the movie is all about.
Overall, I guess I'll just a quick little synopsis here. Really, it's just about a group of superheroes who are brought together to fight against Loki, the god of mischief, and an alien army that attacks New York. That's essentially the whole movie.
That's basically the plot of the entire movie. Of course, Loki, he steals the Tesseract, or basically object of mass destruction, at the very beginning of the movie. His whole team's brought together to be able to stop him, save the world, make sure that kind of goes away. And of course, this is a great time for us to talk about this movie, because Justice League's coming out very soon. It's coming out tomorrow as of the release of this podcast, and Thor just came out, and both of us have already seen the new Thor movie, and if you haven't seen it yet, we both really highly recommend it. Really solid, funny. Obviously we're not going to spoil anything for you from that, because that's a brand new movie from every sense of the word, but it is super funny, super fun, really fun for the whole family,
and is easily the best Thor movie out of all three,
hands down. The first two Thor movies are they're not that great. The second one, I don't want to say objectively. They're both pretty forgettable. So I'm just glad that we finally have a movie that shows us Thor for who Thor is, and is actually hilariously fun. Obviously, we're taking this movie and we're going to try to flip it into a coming-of-age movie. Let's talk about, what makes a coming-of-age movie what it is, because that's not one of those really clear-cut genres like a comedy or a horror movie. Like, what would you say is a coming-of-age movie?
It can encompass kind of a number of different genres. I feel like usually it goes into the direction of either being a comedy, a drama, or a mix of the two, a dramedy. So, one of my favorites being The Breakfast Club. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, of course. Who hasn't seen The Breakfast Club, man?
Quintessential John Hughes movie. But I normally think of a coming-of-age movie as being somebody in their adolescence kind of goes through a transition from not necessarily going from a young age to an adult age, but kind of mentally going from the stage of thinking like a kid to realizing what adult life is like in a certain way.
Right.
It differs from movie to movie.
Well, for me, what a coming of age movie is kind of like, it's like when somebody goes through an either internal or external journey to be able to realize who they really are, like, or whatever, you know?
Yeah, learn something
Like-
about themselves.
They're trapped in some sort of mundane, daily cycle, but then after they realize, like, this is who I'm meant to be, this is what, blah, 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 you know?
It's like a teenager's hero's journey.
So this isn't really, I mean, despite the fact that this is about heroes, this isn't really something that is a clear-cut fit for inside of the Avengers. So doing this genre flip definitely kind of cuts it out, sends it in a different direction than the norm. So something that I kind of was thinking about for this one, kind of jumping into my genre flip, the idea that I came up with, I thought that Loki would be a really clear character to have be the protagonist, or I guess anti-hero, kind of like Breaking Bad.
Okay,
but
yeah.
either way, the main character of a coming of age movie, because he's the character that is really trying to accomplish some sort of goal in the Avengers. Obviously,
He's kind of the outcast.
Yeah. And so kind of diving into the plot of the actual movie, the reason, like, what would you say the reason is because he's trying to get the Tesseract to rule the world?
Like, what are his motivations behind that?
Yeah, like what's the whole reason for it?
I mean, one of the few things that I remember from the previous Thor movies was he is Odin's adopted son, and he pretty much feels that he has the right to the throne. And because he doesn't get it, he's kind of now trying to take over the earth and essentially enslave humanity and kind of be their ruler.
Right. He feels like he is meant to be a ruler, and the fact that he's overshadowed by his older brother, he doesn't actually get to rule Asgard, so he's trying to take everything into his own hands. He's trying to become the ruler of Earth so that he can show his dad and be like, hey, Dad, see? I totally did this. I am amazing at this, and blah, blah, blah,
I have enslaved billions of people.
This is what it is like to be a ruler.
And he's kind of working with the mob now because he's got that alien army
Right.
that is backing him up.
I'm trying to remember what happens at the end of Thor. I know that he falls off the Rainbow Bridge, which is horrifying. By the way, the Rainbow Bridge, it is so thin. If one misstep and boom, you're gone. You're dead.
Every single time I see that, I can't help but think of Rainbow Road in Mario Kart.
Oh yeah,
And
dude,
it is
the
just
worst
as
map.
perilous.
Could you imagine if the way they did Mario Kart was such that if you fell off the map, it was over. You just lost.
That's your
You
only
came in
chance.
last place. That was your one life. Lakitu does not come in to save you. It's over. You
like
have
bowling.
lost this game.
It's like bowling without rails. On the
Well,
edges.
but I mean, you
gotta
still
get a
get to
ball.
come back the next round. I mean, you just get I'm blanking on the bowling
Penalty.
term.
Gutter ball.
A gutter ball. That's it. All I could think of was strike, but I was like, no, that's baseball. That's not
That's
a good
thing.
I know sports well.
Sports ball. It's my favorite.
Yes. So, of course, the beginning of this genre flip movie is that Loki feels like he's destined for greatness. He is overshadowed by his older brother. He wants to prove himself to his father, so he sets off on this journey to show that he always was meant to be a ruler, and he's going to do that with Earth. So, in Act 1 of the Avengers, Loki steals the Tesseract. I think we can kind of keep that the same because he needs to have something to make him all-powerful, because this is basically, we're just transferring the way that this movie I'm envisioning could go is that Loki will just be the main character, and then this whole thing will be told from his perspective. Because the way that the structure of the movie is set up, it's making Loki out to be the bad guy, but of course history is only told
From the winner's perspective.
Right. So if Loki had actually won, maybe he would have come off as actually been a good person, right?
The good guy.
It's
I
like
feel like you could start it off with kind of a, not necessarily a montage, but kind of showing what Loki has been through in life and how he feels like he's done enough to warrant being ruler of Asgard, and how he's constantly being denied what he feels like his chance.
showing flashbacks, of course, in black and white, because
Yeah.
it has to be black and white.
Showing Thor to be the preferred brother, like he's always getting first place in all the science fairs. Odin's always patting Thor on the back Loki's
there
like,
needs to be
why can't I get a back pat?
there needs to be a flashback that's in black and white of everyone pointing and laughing at Loki, and it kind of in slow motion zooms in on Loki's face as you can see like
A single
the light.
tear.
Yeah, like everything is just crumbling in his life. So yeah, we get the flashbacks. We all know that Loki is he's been beaten down a lot in his life, and now it's time for him to change the world, to make it a better place. He steals the Tesseract, and then what happens with Shield? Like, how do they get the team together?
Well, I think if you're going to show Loki as the protagonist, you've got to kind of show the Avengers as being the antagonists. In a way, like introduce them as being kind of an evil organization that's hell-bent on getting together purely with the intent on destroying Loki, because this can be his chance to be in the spotlight, to actually get power for once.
So let's analyze the ways that the characters were found to be put together as a team, and kind of flip the script on them a little bit to make them seem like they're more evil, right? So the first character that we see is Black Widow. Is she the first one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's an easy one. You can just make it so she's interrogating somebody who's tied up in a chair. She's torturing them or something like that.
Right. So she's actually the person who's like the mobster in that situation, whereas the other person is actually being tied up in the chair. But of course, she's way more evil, and she's got like a pair of pliers and is ripping out teeth or some bullshit, like something that's like really like, oh my god, I can't believe you're doing that type of like
for
messed
some
up
reason
thing.
Was it Batman and Robin that had Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy?
Yeah.
Because for some reason, that's the thing that's popping into my head right now.
What is where she comes in and kisses them, and then like, they have to do whatever she says, type thing.
Well, not that exact thing, because I don't think any of the Avengers are going to be wearing rubber lips.
Or Loki would be, yeah.
Or Loki, but yeah, she's evil. She's the Poison Ivy of Marvel
of
now.
the Avengers. Right. Oh, wait. So we're skipping over something here. So at the beginning of the Avengers, Loki ends up brainwashing Hawkeye to join his team. Should it be like a recruitment thing where he like talks to him and he's just like, hey, man, you should join my team type thing. And then Hawkeye's like the only one that sees the light. Sure.
He shows Hawkeye like a video on his phone of Tony Stark being like, yeah, Hawkeye's not really like part of our thing. I mean, we kind of just keep him around because he's friends with Black Widow, but none of us really like him that much.
And then it shows like a very similar scene as we showed earlier in the film of Loki in black and white, everybody pointing and laughing at him and like slowly zooming in on the camera as he has a single tear. Same thing happens to Hawkeye, or in that video it shows all of the other Avengers like pointing and laughing at Hawkeye, and so it just the camera zooms in.
They're all having a party and Hawkeye's not invited, so they all point and laugh at a picture of Hawkeye.
So Loki recruits Hawkeye, and then of course we jump into this team of villains who are all coming together. We show Black Widow. We see her; she's actually doing the interrogating, like totally like screwing up some guy's life. Then she's told from her evil superiors, in Shield, like just let's kind of take a sidebar for a second, kind of looking at the actual Avengers movie. The people that Fury talks to in the screen and how they have like some sort of like black overlay on them, you can't even see what they really look like. They look like villains, don't they?
Yeah, it definitely has like an evil presence kind of feel. And
so you could really just keep that the same.
Yeah, exactly. They already look like an evil organization.
Yeah. So anyway, let's shift gears and talk about the Hulk for a second here. Like, what evil deed is the Hulk doing that he needs to be taken away from to join this team of horrible villains that are going to try to stop our hero Loki?
Well, I mean, the Hulk has kind of exiled himself far away so that he's going to be in a situation where he can't really turn into the Hulk and cause trouble. So I guess you can make it so he purposefully puts himself in a highly populated area so he can cause the most mayhem possible. So like every day he's just turning into the Hulk and jumping around fucking Tokyo and just smashing buildings every day.
Just smashing everything.
Just having fun.
Tokyo's a great example just because he's basically Godzilla but in a smaller form.
Yeah. Tiny green Godzilla.
Or I mean, even if you kept the movie the same, where he's in some sort of like sick town, and he's the doctor or whatever, he could actually just be the person that's making everyone sick.
Dude, good business. You got people coming in every day like the Hulk broke my arms. Don't worry, I got you.
Perfect. Then, of course, you have Iron Man, who is, coming up with some sort of weaponized thing because he has regressed back to his point of earlier life where he's just making
Weapons
all kinds
manufacturing.
of making all kinds of deadly weapons. Captain America has seen the light as to why Hydra is actually the true organization, like why that's the best thing. So he's doing all kinds of bad things to.
Dude, I think that happened in the comics recently. There was some issue where there was just a panel of Cap going, "Hail Hydra."
Yeah.
I remember people freaking out about that.
How did that get resolved? Do you know? I don't know.
Oh, I have no clue.
I don't know. I'm a fan of Captain America, but I never have gotten into like super deep into his lore, the comics, outside of what I saw from the cartoon and growing up, and of course all the more recent movies.
There's so many, it's hard to pick a starting point.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, because you go to basically like any toy store or comic book store or whatever, and they have these comic books, and they're all like 59 cents or something, like super cheap. But you can't just jump in. That's like starting the Harry Potter series at number 5. Like you're not gonna have any idea what's going on.
Oh yeah, issue 357 of
Yeah.
Number
This
7
seems
in
like
some
a
arc
good-
of 12 that you've never heard of.
This seems like a great place to start.
I can just infer what happened before.
Yeah. So jumping in to the the whole team is together at this point. They've gotten, Loki is trying to get everything all together so that he can enslave the world in a positive way. I don't know. How is he going to turn it around so that enslaving the world is actually a good thing for everyone?
Well, I guess this is where he's at what is it, like an art museum or something?
I thought it was like an opera. I don't know what was happening there, but it was some sort of fancy gathering in Germany.
And he just shows up and has his staff and horns and whatever, and he just forces everybody to kneel down to him.
But I mean, I don't want to make this movie exactly the same as Thor or as the Avengers from the perspective of Loki. Like this needs to be something that is a completely different take. It's got a different feel.
He's got to be there. He's got to be there to like. There's some big painting, and everybody's there for the restoration of this massive painting, and it's like some old, who's some famous painter that we can use.
Leonardo da Vinci.
It's some Leonardo da Vinci painting, and there's like all of this coatings of enamel on it, and they're going to like wipe it off and make it look just as perfect and pristine as it did when he first painted it. So Loki comes up and he's like, "Oh, I can just do that with a wave of my magic staff," and he cleans it off, and then everybody just thinks he's a witch and starts screaming and like crying. And he's like, "I was just trying to do something nice for you guys." And they're like, "Fine, we'll kneel, we'll bow down."
So kind of jumping ahead a little bit here, kind of going further into kind of jumping out of our structure a little bit here. How is this going to turn around? Like, what is the lesson that Loki is going to learn? Because clearly at this point, his whole life has just been one, like it's like people are just taking a dump on him, like constantly at this point. And he finally has some power. He's trying to give this power to the world to make it a better place, kind of show people the love is the answer or whatever, and people are still just dumping on him over and over and over again.
I think it's got to be kind of a tale where he learns to have confidence in himself no matter what the people around him say. Like if people belittle him, he's got to learn how to not let that get to him. Right.
He's got to be like, all right, change is a good thing. I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for your own good. Not like he's the father of Earth type thing. How like when your dad takes away something from you as a kid, he's like, I'm doing this for your own good, son, or whatever. Is that a real thing, or am I just making that up?
I mean, that's a thing that I've seen in like TV.
Yeah, it happens in
movies.
movies. It doesn't actually happen in real life. This will teach you some respect. Or this will teach you a lesson.
Something like that.
Oh, yeah,
That'll
whatever.
give you mental fortitude, son. It
So,
sounds like
well,
Odin. That's what Odin said to Loki when he was growing up.
right. So, well, we'll figure out what the lesson is as we get a little bit further on into it. So, of course, Loki's trying to just help all of these people, and then the gang of villains all comes together, and they're like, "Wow, you're a bunch of jerks. I'm gonna take you down." But so wait, does the world love these villains despite the fact that they are truly awful, or
It's probably a thing where like they have a public appearance that's that of a hero, but in secret they're just kind of like doing things for their own benefit.
right? So they are bad guys, but they look like good guys, kind of thing. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
an example of
Like a
this.
dictator of a country. Like Kim Jong-il just had like photos of himself plastered everywhere.
Our hero.
Yeah, so the Avengers are like that. There's just like propaganda for the Avengers on like on the sides of buildings. There's just these big posters.
And of course, Loki coming to town, trying to brighten up the world and make this a sparkly and wonderful place is bad for business.
He wants
because,
to stop the reign of the Avengers,
right
taking
so
advantage of the American public.
it's bad for business for them because, of course, they're like big corporate people. They are the
They're-
ones
yeah.
that are making all the money.
They're like Disney.
Yeah, but
Their image is being tarnished.
Disney's not a bad company, though, is it?
I mean, even recently, and they've been doing some shady stuff.
Disney is never going to sponsor our podcast if we keep talking like this, Eric.
True. Got to get that Disney money.
But they'll put us on the Disney Channel or on their Disney radio or whatever. It's like,
We'll do the
up
new,
now on Genre Flip, our next Disney movie. What if it was like this? I don't know why I'm talking in my Adam Sandler promo voice.
That's the Disney Channel voice. We'll do the next. We'll do the next Mike's Super Short Show.
Yeah. That is such a dated reference. I don't think anybody's gonna know what that was.
Two
Mike's
people
Super-
will, and
Yeah,
two people
those
will, and
people
they'll
like,
comment.
I
know
remember
that
that.
reference.
All right, so Loki, he's defeated by the villains, of course, and he has to run back into hiding, and he has to kind of rethink his approach here. He's like, oh man, I was just trying to do something good for the world, and all of these people, just like they did on Asgard, are tearing me down, showing me that I can't do it. But this is his moment. This is where he needs to like really get into the rising action here, and to I guess we're kind of like coming to a close of Act 2 and kind of starting to get into Act 3 here, where he's starting to realize what he really needs to do to be able to make the world a much better place. Maybe he's come to a realization that he needs to do one giant, massive good thing for the world to open up everyone's eyes all at one time.
He's gonna throw a giant party in New York.
That's it. Yes, on top of Stark Tower.
He's going to invite all the aliens. He's going to show, hey, look, America, other civilizations out there in space have achieved peace. Why not us?
Yes, perfect. All of the aliens come in, and then immediately everyone's starting to freak out.
Freaking out. You can't just introduce aliens like that to New York. You can't just have aircraft that nobody's seen before flying around in New York. That is a red flag.
Yeah. So everybody starts freaking out. The Avengers come in, and they're all excited, despite the fact that Loki's bringing in a really peaceful race of aliens who all are just bringing in cupcakes and love and like whatever all the most positive things.
One of the aliens sets off like a party popper, and a human thinks it's a weapon and just starts screaming, and that sets off everybody.
He's got a gun! And like, everybody get him! The whole town just starts all like rising up against these aliens, and that's what starts like the big battle sequence. They are all just like everyone's
These aliens are
picking
trying
up.
to offer cupcakes, and then Iron Man just comes up and like punches their head off. No!
Wait, look, everyone! Iron Man's here! Yeah!
See, Iron Man can still use the line. He's like, I'm bringing the party to you guys. Can still use that. It makes even more sense.
Yeah. So, all the characters, of course, they're just trying to have a party, whereas the Avengers are they're being party poopers and totally destroying this party. It's like how when your parents go out of town whenever you're a kid, and so you're like, oh man, I'm gonna throw this big huge rager, it's gonna be so much fun, and then that one jerk comes in and ruins the whole party. The Avengers are like that.
They get the cops called, and Loki's like, oh shit, the cops are coming.
The cops, get out of here, everybody.
Somehow none of the cops have noticed this huge amount of destruction going on in the middle of Manhattan.
So the aliens are here. They're trying to just bring the party to the world to make everything bright and wonderful. But the Avengers are tearing things down. What's the climax of this movie? What is the big inciting moment that everybody's going to be like, whoa, my gosh, that just happened. That's craziness.
I think you could do a similar thing where this evil, shadowy organization launches a nuke. And I mean, like, it's weird to me that in the Avengers, like in the actual movie, like their fucking first reaction is just, oh, we'll just shoot a nuke at Manhattan.
Hello, let's just blow up our biggest city in the entire world. What in the world? What?
You're going to kill millions of people doing that.
Yeah, whatever. Aliens. That's why. But the problem is that they don't understand is that even if they blow up New York, the aliens are still going to be coming in through the portal in the world, right?
Yeah, like they don't really. I mean, I guess if they know that machine on top of Stark Tower is what's fueling the portal, but I don't know that the Tesseract would even be destroyed in a nuclear explosion.
Well, because they decided that it couldn't be. I mean, even Thor couldn't get it to stop, with his hammer and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I
think what we could do is they can launch the nuke, but then instead of Iron Man trying to sacrifice himself, Loki does it.
Yeah,
he thinks like, if nothing else, at least I can save millions of people from their actual death. And like he makes this choice, like he is the only one who can do this, and he knows that if he does this he'll die, but the Avengers will still live on. And he decides, it's my adopted brother, I still love the guy, I don't want to see all these people die, so he goes and sacrifices himself.
He goes and he
but
sacrifices
it could be
himself.
like with Iron Man, where he doesn't actually die, and then he could be lauded as a hero at that point. Like the people of New York could see, like, oh, we thought he was the bad guy, but then he tried to sacrifice himself for us.
Right. Well, I don't know, but here's the thing. I mean, would all of the people actually think that? I mean, I guess it could be in the same way of the actual Avengers, where some people were like, "Oh, the Avengers, like they did so much damage to our town," type thing.
Yeah. I think it could be a thing where the majority of people still see Loki as the bad guy. They think, like, even if he deflected the nuke and got it sent through the portal, he's still the one who incited this whole incident in the first place, so they think he's the bad guy. But then at the very end, Loki's he's been rejected again, and, like, all these people hate him. But at the very end, there could be, like, one person who comes up to him, and they're like, thank you for what you did for us.
Perfect. And even just the gratitude of one person was enough. He didn't need to rule an entire world. He needed to just make one person smile. Instead of Loki being the god of mischief, he's like a jester. He's like the god of fun, laughter, or whatever, right?
He makes that transition. God of mischief to God of pure happiness.
The end. What a great movie that was.
Fade to black. What's the after credit scene? You got to have an after credit scene.
Gotta have an after credit scene where Loki is, he's disguised himself as one of the Avengers, or actually he's disguised himself as all of the Avengers, and he sits in a shawarma restaurant and he just eats. And that's it.
This is like his last jab at the Avengers. He goes into the shawarma place and then he like eats as all the Avengers and then doesn't leave a tip on like a $200 bill.
Or like Iron Man, he overhears Iron Man saying, "I want to try shawarma after all this is over," and so he goes in and he buys all of it from the entire restaurant, so that the Avengers, whenever they show up there, they can't have any. I feel like that kind of takes away from Loki trying to be, a guiding light of positivity, and it kind of makes him seem like he's still kind of a dick move. Whatever, man. We all have our weaknesses. What
still
other?
got a little bit of a redemption arc.
Yeah. This is only movie one of Loki as a protagonist. He's still got a lot of growing to do.
Oh, of course. You've got like 9 more phases of Marvel Loki movies to go.
Speaking of the phases of Marvel and Loki movies, how many times is it, kind of jumping back to the regular Avengers, how many times is Thor going to fall for the fact that Loki isn't really there, but Thor,
Right.
he jumps through him and then gets trapped or whatever? I feel like that's happened in every single movie that Thor and Loki are together in.
Yeah, it's kind of just a constant.
Thor just never learns, but Loki does, and that's why he's the protagonist of this movie. So what other ideas do we have? I mean, maybe this isn't the perfect idea. Maybe we can come up with another coming-of-age movie that would really shine bright like a diamond.
Well, here's what I was thinking. I said earlier that The Breakfast Club is my personal favorite coming-of-age movie, and I kind of wanted to take the Avengers and set it in a high school.
Okay.
And I was thinking SHIELD is kind of this organization that they're all working for. So I'm going to make it SHIELD High. They're
Sure.
all ages between like 15 and 18, somewhere in there. And somehow all of these people get grouped together. It doesn't necessarily have to be, detention, but these people get brought together. And they're all from different backgrounds. So I was trying to think of what these characters would be like if they were in high school, and they don't even necessarily need to have powers of any sort.
Right. Well, if they don't have any powers, well, but the powers isn't necessarily what makes the Avengers who they are, right?
Right. Like, they all have these personality traits that would shine through even if they don't have powers, or if Iron Man didn't have his suit.
Right.
So, like, Tony Stark would still be... He'd be a really clever student.
Billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, or whatever he says.
Yeah. He'd have, his parents' money. He'd be making all these crazy inventions all the time. He'd still be, like, self-absorbed. He'd be really sarcastic and smarmy, but, he'd still be likable.
What if they were a part of a club, because the whole point of the movie is that they're a team that comes together to do something.
Right.
So, like, what if they were a part of some sort of club that comes together to, I don't know. I mean,
it's like an extracurricular club where, like, it looks really good on college applications, and, like,
they're like the
some
beta
of them
club
want
or
to be in
whatever.
it. Yeah, so, like Steve Rogers, Captain America, he would want to be in it. He'd be like the goody-goody student. He's always on honor roll. He's like...
I was thinking that Captain America would be like the much older person who, like, he had an accident like early in his life and went into a coma for like 15 years. And so he never ended up graduating from high school. And so he's like some 35-year-old guy who is still in like freshman year of high school because he just woke up from his coma. And now he is like way behind on all these classes and he wants to be able to move on with his life, but he doesn't know enough. So he needed to come back to school. Is that too much?
No, I like that. Let's go with that. Dude, and all the other students are going to think he's like an undercover cop who's just like very poorly blending in.
Right. I'm picturing something from, oh God, what's that movie with Robin Williams? Is it Jack? Is that the movie where he starts out like as an old man and then he gets, or no, as a full-grown adult,
Benjamin
but he
Button.
gets, no, I was thinking like as a movie where he's like, he starts out as a grown man and then he gets old really fast. That's Jack, right?
Yeah, that is.
So there's clearly got to be a scene in this movie where there's a prom that happens, and and he ends up dancing with one of the teachers rather than with someone their age or like the age group of the typical freshman through 12th grader, right?
Dude, what if it's like have you seen the movie Big, with Tom Hanks?
Oh yeah.
So like Steve Rogers just finds like a Zoltar machine and then becomes 35, and yet he's still going to school, and like nobody acknowledges that he's like way older and super buff now.
Well, it has to be one of those things where like the characters still are who they are despite the fact that they're not superheroes. So like Tony has to be the rich kid. The Bruce Banner's got to be like really into science, I guess, right?
And he's got like extreme anger management issues.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got to have Loki in this movie. He's got to be the villain kid, like that jerk kid that's trying to like thwart their
the
plans.
outcast who's always getting picked on. He's the class clown.
Yeah,
he's the god of class clownery.
So what's the objective? What's the conflict in this movie? Like, what is the goal that they're trying to accomplish?
Well, sticking to the original The Avengers, I'm thinking Loki is, being the class clown that he is, hatching some sort of big prank that's going to overtake the school, or maybe he's kind of started an alliance with like a rival high school. And so a bunch of their students are going to come over and like try to pull this huge prank on the school, on Shield High. But then the Avengers are the only kids who are staying late after school for their club. And they're the only people who are there to stop all these other kids coming and trying to trash the place.
Stop them from stealing the mascot or from drawing butts on the football field or whatever people do these days. Yeah, so the jerk kids from the other school are trying to come over and ruin the school, but not to worry, the Beta Club is here, and they are going to stop it by doing something.
They've got to make use of the school grounds, and they've got to make use of their individual talents to kind of go in and save the day. I think we forgot to go in and like establish some of the other Avengers.
Oh, yeah. I've only established 3 of them at this point. So we've got Black Widow. She's the hot chick that can get anyone to do anything for her.
And she, of course, is also like very athletic. She's on like the gymnastics team. She's like head of the wrestling team or something.
Yeah, something like that. Then there's Hawkeye, who he's just got glasses.
Hawkeye's just a fucking nerd and nobody likes him.
Nobody likes Hawkeye.
Hawkeye's the kid who makes like the makeshift bow and arrow out of a pen and a rubber band.
Oh gosh, those kids. And then he does what with that? He's the guy that like all of the Avengers or all of the Beta Club is like, you're a freaking weirdo. But then somehow at the very end, his makeshift pen and like rubber band comes in handy at the end to be able to save everyone or something.
He shoots like like some kind of cherry bomb or something at Loki, who catches it, but then it explodes in his hand. His hand is just blown off. It's just mangled at the wrist.
Dude, this is a violent movie, despite the fact that it's a tween Avengers movie.
We're getting into it's like the beginning of Tropic Thunder when Ben Stiller's hands are just like split apart like banana peels.
Oh man, my life would be over if my hands both exploded. Like, what can you even do?
Oh yeah, you can get some robot hands. You can get some Ultron hands. Sticking with the Avengers theme here.
I thought you said old Tron hands, not Ultron hands. I was like, I don't know what that means, but it sounds hilarious.
Yeah, they're like 3D grid hands. You get recreated CGI hands like Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy. They like look just a little bit off, but you can't really tell how. Uncanny Valley hands. That's what you're going for.
There you go. So, following the progression of the Avengers, they have to, like, the team has got to, like, all get together, and they have to have this one moment where they all kind of suck and they all lose, right, to the bad guys. So maybe they're meeting in their club after school, and they are like the team of people who come over from the other school. They actually start doing like one of these pranks, and they try to stop them, but they can't. And then everybody comes to school the next day, and they feel like they have lost everything. They feel like they not lost everything, but they feel like they've
got to lose their Tesseract. They've got to lose whatever MacGuffin that the rival high school kids came and stole.
Like their school flag or something like that?
Yeah, school flag or like school mascot, kind of like a statue out in front of the school or something.
Right.
Oh, I do think that they should have, like Nick Fury is the teacher who they've gotten to like sponsor their club. So he's just there at the beginning to be like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm going to go home. Just pretend like I'm here. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
This is sounding a lot like Stranger Things in some ways, where like these kids are all in the AV club and their teacher is the guy who's whatever. Nick Fury is the guy who's in charge of the Beta Club. Are we just going with the Beta Club, or is there another one that they would all be a part of? Because, I mean, the only kinds of clubs that I can think of in high school that a diverse group of students would all be a part of is the Beta Club, right?
Beta Club, I guess like Key Club, because isn't that about doing I don't know, like nice things for your community or whatever?
Oh yeah, or was some sort of club that is all about giving back to the community and making the school better. Or maybe they're like the yearbook, people, or
yearbook committee.
Yeah, or it's definitely something that's like What if they were? I have it. I have the idea. Do you remember in elementary school when there were kids that had like those safety vests that would stand out there and make
Oh,
sure that everybody got into the car okay?
dude. I was in the safety patrol in 5th grade. I was one of those fucking nerds.
So get it like, let's get into the mind of a kid on safety patrol. What was your job like on a day to day?
Mostly it was like after school we would kind of direct traffic along the sidewalks, and we would also take the flag down, like take the American flag down off of the flagpole at the end of the day.
Got to make sure it doesn't touch the ground. You got to fold it up just right.
Oh yeah, there were times where it touched the ground, and
Oh
it
no!
was truly when I was the least patriotic little 5th grade me.
Don't you have to burn the flag after it touches the ground? Isn't that how that works?
What?
Or wait, are you never supposed to burn the flag? I don't know. It's something. I feel like if the flag touches the ground, that's bad.
Yeah, there is something that you're supposed to do to it if it ends up touching the ground. I don't know.
This.
I was 10, I didn't know.
I need to know this. What happens if the flag touches the ground? All
You
right.
get detention.
The flag should never touch anything beneath it. Contrary to urban legend, the flag code does not state that a flag touches the ground, it should be burned. Okay, so you shouldn't burn it.
Oh, okay.
Instead,
Wow.
is considered disrespectful, and the flag in question should be moved in such a manner that it is no longer touching the ground. Okay, so nothing happens. If the flag touches the ground, it's not like you should burn it. You should just pick it up. Pick that flag up, boy.
Phew.
All right, back into the movie here. So these people are on like a high school version of safety patrol, I guess. They're these people that like patrol the student or the school. Maybe this school has a trash problem, like a littering problem, and so these kids come around the school and they pick up trash at the end of the day. And that's when this rival school comes in to try to steal the statue. And these kids are the only ones that are still there somehow to stop them. But of course, they fail the first time, and the kids end up stealing
Stealing the statue.
the statue. Yeah. So where do we go from here?
So they've got to kind of like meet up in their own time to regroup and talk about like they're worried. Maybe one of them is worried that if it's found out that they were there and they didn't do anything, they might get in trouble. So they need to, of their own accord, go and get this statue back and then put it back on the school before anybody notices.
So this is all happening in one night because, of course, people would notice if they got there by the next day.
Oh yeah. So it turns from like this coming of age comedy into like this coming of age heist movie where they all have to go in the middle of the night and kind of sneak in. They got to track where the statue went, find out exactly who took it, and follow these clues to get it back, and then transport it and put it back in the courtyard.
I feel like there should be a scene where each of the characters are discussing their special abilities or their things that they are really good at doing. Like the girl is really good at being stealthy, and she can get around and no one can hear her coming or whatever type thing.
Ooh, Thor should be like a theater student, and he is just like he is stuck in character for some like Shakespeare play. So that's why he talks the way he does and dresses the way he does.
And he uses his stage voice so that people call him the god of thunder because he's so loud. So when they go to the rival,
use those skills to like talk his way into wherever they need to go.
I was
He's
thinking
got that improv.
Yeah, so I was thinking that he would be the distraction. Like he would go in there and he would get all of the attention from the students that stole the statue. He would be the one that would be like attention, and of course his voice would echo. Yeah, right.
Starts talking. I am the god of thunder. Odin has appointed me ruler of your party.
Okay, so we've got Black Widow and we've got Thor taken care of. Obviously, Bruce Banner is deceptively strong. So there's got to be some sort of situation where he lifts something heavy.
Oh, of course. Or maybe they like find the kid's house where they've taken the statue, and the kid's like they're throwing a house party now. So that's what they got to break into this house party. Thor's the distraction. Black Widow is sneaking around. Bruce Banner is like her muscle, and he'll like fight off anybody who like starts causing trouble or gets in the way. They think the statue might be in the garage, so he's got to like lift the garage door all by himself.
Iron Man is like the Fred from Scooby-Doo. He's like, I love traps, and so he can make anything to be able to thwart these kids in their path.
It can be like Iron Man 3, where he doesn't have the suit, and he's just like making these makeshift inventions with random stuff from Home Depot. Breaking his way in.
I don't know what Captain America or what...
See, Captain America is like so popular, and he's such a cool guy that like they don't even care when he shows up to the party. So he just like shows up and starts mingling with everybody.
Is he like the captain of the football team? And so he's got to have
he's
some
like quarterback.
Sort of scene, where the kids are running away with the statue, and they're like, "Oh no, we're never going to be able to catch him." But of course, Captain America has got the football in his hand, and
runs
so well, I was thinking that he just throws the football, the perfect spiral, right into the back of some kid that's carrying the statue, and so they fall over.
But then the statue hits the ground, and the head breaks off of it.
Oh no! Well, so where do we go from here?
So now, not only do they have to return the statue, they've got to fix it before they can return it. And this is where you've got to use like these ingenious tricks that like Tony and Bruce can like work together to come up with some sort of makeshift adhesive.
And then I'm like, oh no! If only we had a rubber band that could really, put everything together. And this is where Hawkeye is the only time where he's useful in the entire film. He's like, I have a rubber band, and then they use the one for his crappy pen bow.
Up until this point, Hawkeye should just be in the background, out of focus. Like not a single line. You just see him once in the beginning fiddling with his little pen thing.
It should be like Hawkeye is that character where like they have in like almost every sitcom, where he is the person that's like, yeah, don't you remember? I was there the entire time with you. And so they just edit them into a scene.
To a previous episode.
Yeah, where they obviously weren't there before, but they edited them into it, like, and they're just laughing like, you guys are so funny.
What if it's like, that episode of Community where in the background the entire time Abed is like coaching this pregnant couple, and then he's delivering their baby in the background?
No, I don't remember this.
It's like this whole subplot, but they never acknowledge it within the entire episode. It purely happens in the background. And it's funny because if you go back and watch and look specifically for it, you can see the entire thing play out. And like 4 or 5 episodes later in the show, Abed's like, oh yeah, I helped this couple deliver a baby. Don't you guys remember that? It was like 3 weeks ago. But it could be like Hawkeye's in the background of the movie the entire time, like
fighting off people with his pen bow.
Yeah, he's doing like all these crucial things that like nobody even realizes up until the last moment. And he's like, oh yeah, I did this and this and this and this. I was pretty much the reason that all of this came together.
Don't you remember any of that happening?
Then you get that flashback. It's like at the end of Saw, where you see like all these different flashbacks coming and all the pieces filling in, and everyone realizes, oh shit, Hawkeye's actually like a super cool dude.
Dude,
that was the
let's
twist.
Just be real though. In the actual Avengers, the Hawkeye is not very cool.
Oh yeah, Hawkeye's like the least. I don't want to say least capable, but he's the least interesting out of all of them by far.
He's like, I have a bow and arrow, and that's why I'm cool.
I like how Iron Man refers to him as Legolas.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It just feels like he's a reference. It's like, oh, archers are cool in other things. Let's put an archer in the Avengers.
Yeah.
He has one cool moment, I feel, and that's when he shoots the arrow at Loki, but then Loki catches it and the arrow explodes.
Yeah, it explodes. Well, there was another one like right before that where he turns his head, he's not even looking, and he shoots the bow and he nails somebody.
That's true. That was neat.
Which is, I mean, pretty freaking awesome actually. But hey,
Yeah,
so
cool.
let's come up with a conclusion of this, so, and then what we'll do is we'll kind of wrap the whole thing into it together in like a 2 or 3 minute kind of thing, just to kind of lay out the plot now that we've got all the elements kind of on the table. So they're wrapping things up. What happens? Do they take the statue, they put it back together, and they put it back so that nobody notices? Or is it one of those things where they're in the middle of putting it back? That's when somebody, students start getting off the bus and they're like, hey, those guys are trying to steal the statue. When really they were the ones that were trying to fix it.
It's got to be like a ticking clock like kind of ending. Have you seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the final scene where he's like running and just like trying to make it back home in time before his parents discover that he hasn't actually been at home. It's got to be kind of like that, where they finally got the statue, they finally got it pieced together. They're making a mad dash for the school. They're all like holding the statue and running together, desperately trying to like, keep their stamina up the whole time. And they get there, people start getting off the bus. You see these crowds of kids coming up on campus, intercut with the Avengers trying to put the statue back in the middle of the courtyard. And then right when they're about to finish, their teacher, Nick Fury, walks out of the building beside them and just catches them right in the act. And again, he's just like, I'm going to pretend I didn't see anything. And he leaves. And they get away with it.
Yeah, so let's kind of wrap this up kind of like with a tight little bow. So these, your act one, your beginning of this story is these kids are all a part of the Key Club or the Safety Club or whatever. Like basically, to try to some sort of thing to keep this school safe and keep this school clean and just like the feel good club, whatever it is. When the inciting incident, of course, is when that rival school comes and tries to steal the statue. They try to fight it off, but of course the kids end up getting away with the statue. What happens after that?
So the Avengers, they maybe try to fight for a little bit, but they end up running away. They kind of like huddle together. They realize we might get blamed for this if they realize the statue's gone because we were the only people here. We've got to go get it back. So they all regroup. They track this statue down. They go to the house party that the kid who stole the statue is apparently throwing. They've got like in a heist film, make their way in there, sneak around, find out where the statue is, bust it out. But they accidentally break it. So they've got to use their ingenuity to make a makeshift
like glue, I guess, to be able to some sort of adhesive to put everything back together.
Yeah, so they get the statue together. They're in a mad dash. It's like I forget what time high school starts, but it's like 7 a.m. or something.
It's different,
and they're all
for
holding
every state.
the statue.
Yeah, so they're all making a mad dash to be able to get back to school, to be able to put everything back together before school starts. Where are their parents this entire time, by the way?
Good question.
You know what? They call their parents at one point, and they're like, hey, we're all having a sleepover at each other's houses.
See, this can be one of the things that they discuss along the course of the movie. Like in The Breakfast Club, they talk to each other along the way. There's these little slow moments where they talk about their home lives, and they realize, we come from different backgrounds, but we're not so different, you and I. Like in every villain speech to a hero.
Right. There's got to be some sort of sacrificing. There's got to be some sort of sacrificing moment, I feel like. Isn't that the climax of the Avengers? Shouldn't there be like one character that...
You're right. Maybe Iron Man, like Tony Stark, he knows he's on the honor roll. He's going to get all A's. He's going to be valedictorian. But then he realizes, you know what? If somebody's going to get in trouble for this, it's going to be me. You guys run. I'll take the blame.
But then, of course, he doesn't get into trouble and everything works out
right.
just fine.
It looks like he might, but then it's only his teacher, Nick Fury, who catches him. Mr. Fury. Which, by the way, is an amazing name, Mr. Fury.
Mr. Fury. Well, yeah, man. So if you're planning on becoming a teacher, change your name to Mr. Fury. Boom. You're going to be everyone's favorite.
Instant respect.
I think we're onto something here. I think that this is actually a pretty good idea.
Oh, yeah. I would watch this. This sounds really fun.
This seems hilarious. Just having like references to what the characters could be, like how this is like a little bit in an Avengers kind of way, it keeps that kind of interesting. And of course, having it like a coming of age heist type of movie, those two tropes coming together could be fun. This seems just like a fun, goofy type of movie. I would absolutely go and see this.
Yeah, same. I really enjoyed this.
So it turns out the Avengers can actually be made as a coming-of-age movie. We would go and see this movie. I hope you would. Thank you so much.
We've solved it.
We have solved it.
World peace.
We appreciate your listening. Definitely give us a comment to give us some feedback on what ways we could improve this, make it better for you. We want to make this, everything that you want this to be. Feel free to give us a like and share this with your friends.
Well, thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far, And really the best thing you could do to help would be to share this with people who you think might enjoy it.
Yeah, share this with your friends and subscribe in whatever ways you can on whatever platform you're listening on. And we will speak at you next week with the next genre flip.